With the recent trend of military defeats, High Command knew the UEE was losing the Second Tevarin War. Kurathal's guerrillas proved too agile and elusive for the lumbering military war machine, and forced civilians to pay the heaviest price. Desperate to turn the tide, Navy officials met with spacecraft manufacturers and offered lucrative contracts for technology that could overcome Tevarin's upgraded phalanx shields. The UEE placed thousands of new proximity sensors throughout high-risk systems in an attempt to track roving Tevarin forces and, following Bremen's lead, worked with the Senate to legislate the creation of local militias to patrol and protect their home systems. While the Army and the Navy scrambled to counter the Tevarin's successful strategy, they at least had a clear purpose. Meanwhile, the Marines struggled to define their clear role in the war. Their difficulties, however, didn't exclusively lie with the enemy. The Army, still stung that the Marines were removed from their command structure decades earlier, argued that they were the best suited for the Tevarin battles on land, and repeatedly referenced their victory at Corin Pass as proof. As such, High Command passed any land engagements and operations to the Army to execute. Meanwhile, the Navy refused to provide the small Marine fleet with any new fighters, claiming their combat pilots needed them, and often assigned old and outdated ships to take Marines into battle. Even Marine numbers were proved difficult to fill. The Army and Navy understood an ascendant Marine force would drain resources and talent from them, so they bitterly fought the Marines' right to recruit top-tier soldiers from their ranks. Both branches begrudgingly worked with the Marines, but remained determined to prove they were the key defenders of the Empire. The conflict over the Marines' role came to a head in mid-April 2605, when reports out of Oberon described an attack on Uriel that wasn't a typical hit-and-run operation. A Tevarin force had captured a sizable landing zone and the accompanying warrens near a quantum fuel refinery. Until then, the Tevarin had foregone establishing ground bases in favor of keeping their forces mobile. Military forces and officials feared this meant that Tevarin had entered the next phase in their war strategy, one that could see them taking land away from humanity and using the existing infrastructure to establish resupply points. Such a spot in Oberon could be used to aid attacks on Vega and the UEE's primary food producers in Bremen. Worse still would be if Tevarin slipped through Bremen and entered the Peri Line. Military strategists deemed a Tevarin and Xi'an alliance a human doomsday scenario that must be avoided at all costs. Yet when Marine General Russ Adichie presented to the Joint Fleet Command a plan to attack the Tevarin base at Uriel, Army and Navy leadership balked at the operation. Oberon was unclaimed, and the Army and Navy officials believe that the war's limited resources should only be deployed to defend UEE systems. Furthermore, they felt that the occupation was an obvious feint designed to attract UEE forces. Raising the proposal to High Command, General Adichie underlined the strategic importance of denying Tevarin a safe haven near UEE space and protecting humanity from Tevarin aggression on every front. He feared that ignoring Oberon would only encourage the Tevarin to take more systems. When High Command prioritized eliminating the Tevarin base, the Army and the Navy argued that their combined force would be more effective than the Marines alone. Projection models of the proposed attack showed that a large-scale engagement by Army and Navy forces would lead to considerable casualties and the destruction of a significant number of ships. Making matters worse, mobilizing forces for the assault would leave other areas of the Empire vulnerable to counterattack. High Command carefully analyzed the collected data and decided on a surgical strike, clearing the way for the Marines to show the Tevarin what they were about. The Marines were ready for the challenge. Special forces from the 1st Marine Combat Battalion had been training for weeks when word came down from High Command that they had been authorized on Operation Oberon. In preparation, they trained in an advanced combat style that could neutralize the infamous hand-to-hand expertise of the Tevarin elite soldiers, and used schematics and scans to build a replica of the landing zone warrens at Corin. Now, an official go, they tirelessly drilled the assault before they boarded a secretive Navy transport to Oberon. The Marines knew they would be outnumbered and outgunned, so they needed to get to the planet without alerting the Tevarin. This involved waiting days until weather conditions provided enough cover for the deployment of nails to quickly and covertly deliver the ship's planetside. The Marines spent several anxious days waiting aboard a ship in Vega until getting word in the middle of the night that conditions were right. Their transport set out for Oberon, cautiously evading Tevarin patrols buzzing around the planet. In the early hours of June 24, 2605, Marine commandos touched down in Uriel near a decommissioned maintenance enclosure that provided access to the subterranean tunnels connected to the quantum fuel refinery. The Marines believed that eliminating the facility's strategic importance would drive the Tevarin to abandon the landing zone, so they advanced toward the refinery's control room, intent on destroying it. The first stage of the mission went as planned. The Marines carefully avoided engagement until they entered the control room and killed all Tevarin inside. While setting explosives, a contingent of Tevarin soldiers approached and engaged the Marines. The ensuing firefight and ever-growing number of Tevarin troops prevented the Marines from planting the final charges. Seeing no alternative, they resorted to an improvised demolition strategy as they fled. The Marines raced through the tunnels to their secondary exfiltration point, assuming that their original entry point had been compromised. They successfully reached the planetside, only to receive word that Tevarin ships had engaged and chased away their approaching rescue ship. They were now stranded. Filled with uncertainty regarding the success of their mission and unsure if they would ever leave Uriel, the Marines fled through the snow-covered mountains surrounding the landing zone, thus beginning an epic and often unbelievable journey across harsh terrain with the better supplied Tevarin forces nipping at their heels. When military analysts received word of the situation, they put the survival chances at 3.8%. As General Arichi famously said, "They obviously never met my Marines." He was right. Despite the drastic odds, this incredible journey through Uriel's mountains would become legendary and inspire generations of young soldiers to sign up. Yet the truth behind what actually occurred is even more unbelievable than the stories would lead you to believe. So this was on the public page, on the front page of the RSI website. This is an excerpt from Jump Point 7.12. Now, this was originally released in December 2019, and it is still locked away behind the subscriber line. So if you are interested in seeing more of these before they're put public, I highly suggest you join the subscriber program and go for the cheaper plan. Do it for a month, see if you like it type situation. And be sure to grab yourself some flair in the store. All the previous flair for each month, like the Demon Fang Combat Knife, are available for purchase from previous time periods, different months, as long as you're a member of the subscription process. Now, also, speaking of subscriptions, I am trying to do a subscriber drive for the channel. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's all I ask. If you would like to take part in becoming one of our subscribers, that builds us up to 500. I am trying to get the community resources tab added to the channel so I can throw in a whole bunch of discussion points and also put in resources, like links to resources that you can use. Once again, there's no strings attached. Just I'm asking for you to become a subscriber if you would not mind. Otherwise, no harm, no foul. Jump points in general. I have a discussion about this. I want to see more of it made public faster. It's a shame that this discussion that actually talks a little bit about why the Marines are truly special in the UEE military apparatus. And I think it's important. I find it interesting whenever we talk about the UEE military, usually people don't say UEE military. They say UEE Navy. I do too. I catch myself all the time saying it. So under the UEE, you have the UEE Navy, you have the UEE Army, the Marines, and the Advocacy. Now, I've caught myself, just as like anyone else, like I said earlier, accidentally using the UEE Navy as code for like the entire military apparatus of the humans. And that's not really the case. In the UEE, the military apparatus has 4 different pieces technically. Because yes, I count the Advocacy because even though they're under a different branch of government, they are an armed force flying around on weaponized ships that are a law enforcement and judicial background, sure, but they still are a force. If you shoot one of them, more will show up and fight you. They may even call upon the UEE Navy if necessary. But they are their own creature under their own branch of government, to be fair. We talked about that last week, by the way. I'll put that video in the cards at the end of this video, discussing a lot of the branches of government. It was in the lore Q&A video. So we have some interesting discussion here. An important part of the UE with distinctions of what makes the Marines special, and also the different branches of military if you're not familiar with them yet. And unfortunately, they're locked behind the subscriber paywall. And I love the subscriber program. I'm not saying I want to get rid of it or anything like that. So before you get your pitchforks, what I am suggesting is that more of this content is made public faster. I think there should be a subscribers get to see it first type situation, and then maybe 6 months or a year down the road. Remember, this article is from December 2019. It just got published today, or yesterday. And I would love to see content that is out in these magazines out faster. I'm not saying the whole magazine. There's still a lot in there. By the way, just in this jump point alone, 7.12, there's a fantastic article about the Vulcan and all the developments of it, and the Ares, and I can't show them because they're, once again, subscriber only content. And I just, it's frustrating. It very much is frustrating. So, with that all in mind, I just, oh yeah, and also, by the way, the Argo Mole was also in this, with a lot of really cool behind-the-scenes development stuff on all 3 ships. Well, 2 ships. The Vulcan technically is more of just directly what it is, an initial development. But the other 2 is like the whole process from concept beyond. So, lots of interesting stuff. Highly recommend the subscriber program, particularly the cheaper plan if necessary. Be sure to pick yourself up the flare you like, because once you join subscriber for a month, that's what I recommend. Try it out for a month, see if you like it, and pick up all the flare that you've seen other people run around with that you would like. You have access to purchase any of the old flare, and obviously you get a month of flare included each month. But at the end of the day, I would like to see a little more balance, especially when you have important discussions that happen in some of these articles that is important to the community to know about. So that's all I got on this. It is what it is. And I hope you appreciate these type of discussions, these type of lore posts that are read dramatically. There's not a lot of speaking parts in this one. In fact, there was just the one from the Admiral. So I kind of skipped it, but it is what it is. Let me know what you think. Comments below or on Discord as always, RedJay, #0001. You'd be surprised. I'll talk to you like I've known you for years. People are quite shocked that I am a real person and I'll chat with you. And if you need advice on your ships, especially in a big ship sale like right now, I have no problem helping you out. All right, y'all, and take care and have a great day and fly safe.